Leonardo DiCaprio's problem is that no one believes he needs to be saved since he is so flawless. We recall the immaculate career spanning over 30 years, the flawless face on the Titanic poster, and the artist who transforms every job into a work of art. We frequently overlook the unsaid suffering that lies underlying that perfection, a childhood wound that no Oscar trophy can really heal. Because film becomes the only place where life feels lighter than the burdens waiting outside the set, he acts with complete dedication. The man who was almost fatally bitten by a big white shark in a diving cage in South Africa is also the one who once caused the entire Oscar audience to stand up after 22 years of waiting. Received 17 stitches after being struck in the face by a stranger with a bottle, and he had to witness his brother become a fugitive. The reality outside the screen turns out to be far more brutal than the characters he has mastered. There is a disturbing mystery beneath the face of the greatest artist of his time as he approaches his 51st year. How is it possible for a man who has everything in the world to never find a calm home, something that billions of common people have? He was raised in what the locals referred to as Needle Alley. When he was just a year old, his parents separated. Amid airstrikes during World War II, his grandmother was born in a bomb bunker. To get her son to a better school, his mother had to spend 3 hours each day traveling through Los Angeles's longest roads. The world is envious of this 51-year-old man who has never been married or had kids. For the majority of his adult life, he has discreetly struggled with obsessive-compulsive disorder. Despite his over $100 million environmental donations, he has come under fire for owning private jets and yachts. Every list the world makes has his name on it. The wealthiest, most gifted, and most influential people are also on lists that few people dare to publicly mention. The most mysterious, the most enigmatic, and the most lonely. The perfection we perceive could be the thickest armor, crafted from a broken upbringing, refined in every role, and held firm by discipline. Please subscribe to the channel and give Leonardo a like before we look past the glow to discover the true person behind the legend. A young couple was fighting to make ends meet long before the Oscars and the Titanic. Partly German and partly Italian, George DiCaprio was an underground comic book artist. In 1943, during an Allied bombing assault in Germany, his mother, Hermolin Indenber, a German legal clerk, was born in a bomb shelter. She paused in front of a Leonardo da Vinci picture at the UE Gallery while she was pregnant and on her honeymoon with George in Florence. The baby kicked violently at that same moment. The impoverished parents chose to name their child after the Renaissance genius after viewing his masterpiece. On November 11, 1974, Leonardo Wilhelm DiCaprio was born in Hollywood, Los Angeles, California. The lone child in a collapsing family, Leo was just a year old when George and Hermelin got divorced. However, they did not use the division as a battlefield. Rather, they purchased 2 adjacent homes that shared a backyard so the young kid could run between them. That picture is both lovely and terrible. 2 parents who adore their son yet are unable to stay together because of love. In a 1994 interview with Interview magazine, Leo stated that he really liked it since he could connect with 2 separate cultures. The youngster had acquired the ability to transform absence into something constructive, a talent he would subsequently apply on the film to transform the suffering of characters into works of art. Merlin nurtured him, shielded him, and had faith in him. Merlin made the 3-hour daily commute from her impoverished neighborhood on the east side of Los Angeles to the Los Angeles Center for Enriched Studies, and then to John Marshall High School so her son could attend a school where his birth circumstances would never have permitted. I did not grow up in an affluent life. I grew up in a very difficult neighborhood on the east side of Los Angeles. This woman drove 3 hours every day to show me a different opportunity. Today is my mother's birthday. Mom, happy birthday. I love you so much, Leo declared on the BAFTA stage on February 14, 2016. He demonstrated this by taking her to the Oscars, Golden Globes, BAFTAs, and other significant events. However, she wasn't the only woman that influenced him. In 1915, Helen Hindenburg, his grandmother, was born in Odessa, Ukraine. Her parents, Stefan Petrovich Smirnov and Irina, escaped to Germany with their 2-year-old daughter after the Bolshevik Revolution began in 1917. She was a female survivor of 2 world wars. "My grandma is Russian," Leo informed her over the phone, taking her to the 1997 Titanic premiere and the 2002 Gangs of New York. "She is the epitome of inner power and wholeness, in my opinion. She experienced immigration, poverty, and conflict." Leo decided he wanted to be an actor when he was around 12, and Aaron took him to auditions every day after school. Hundreds of rejections, hundreds of castings. The slender young man with the difficult-to-pronounce Italian last name was given advice by a talent agency to alter his name to Lenny Williams in order to increase his marketability. Leo declined. In front of the Da Vinci painting in Florence, the 12-year-old child from Needle Alley had enough courage to maintain the name his parents had given him despite having no money or connections. He had minor parts in the sitcom Growing Pains from 1991 to 1992, the soap opera Santa Barbara in 1990, the television series Parenthood in 1990, and the low-budget horror flick Critters 3 in 1991. Each audition was an opportunity. Every role was an unspoken pledge that he would never be a failure and return to that shaky house. Acting was more than a hobby. It was survival. Leonardo DiCaprio played Ari Grape in the 1993 film What's Eating Gilbert Grape? At the age of 18, co-starring Johnny Depp, who was already a well-known celebrity, the film was directed by Lasse Hallström. A youngster named Ari had an intellectual handicap, not the protagonist or the character that the screenplay centered the movie on. However, Leo transformed that supporting part into the story's emotional focal point. He didn't portray a person with a disability. Inside that youngster, he vanished entirely. No 18-year-old actor had the right to act so honestly. From the off-center glance to the persistent wiggling of the fingers, from abrupt laughing to moments of panic. Later, Johnny Depp acknowledged that when working with Leo on set, he discovered he was surrounded by a whole other sort of talent. Not a method taught in schools, but an instinctive ability to blend into a character until the line between actor and role vanished. As a result, Leo received one of the youngest nominations in Academy history for Best Supporting Actor at the 66th Academy Awards on March 21, 1994. At the age of just 19, he was not victorious. Tommy Lee Jones received the monument that evening for The Fugitive, but Hollywood had permanently inscribed Leonardo DiCaprio's name on it. The Needle Alley youngster had entered the casting room with nothing and left with an industry-wide invitation. The increase started 3 years later. Leo was selected by Australian filmmaker Baz Luhrmann in 1996 to play Romeo in the contemporary adaptation of Romeo plus Juliet, the movie that made Shakespeare the language of the MTV generation. Leo's face could be seen on posters all over the world, on the pages of adolescent magazines from America to Japan, and on the walls of millions of teenage girls' bedrooms. But appearances weren't the only factor in that function. No 21-year-old actor had any right to have the unadulterated, genuine enthusiasm Leo brought to Romeo. He sobbed over Juliet's body with an agony that didn't require script guidance. Not out of courtesy, but because nobody could breathe, the entire auditorium became silent. The world was enamored with Leonardo DiCaprio, but it was unaware of the impending tsunami. He was picked by filmmaker James Cameron in 1997 to play Jack Dawson in the romantic epic Titanic, which nobody thought would be successful because the budget had grown to the point where studios declared it a financial disaster before a single ticket was sold. A little-known fact is that when Cameron first asked Leo to try out, Leo declined, thinking he didn't need to. Cameron told the 22-year-old, who was so self-assured that he almost seemed haughty, that he would not be cast if he did not try out. This was a casting session rather than an homage. Go home or read the lines. Everyone in the room knew Jack Dawson had found his owner as soon as Leo opened his mouth after reading the lines. After its December 19, 1997, premiere, Titanic became a cultural phenomenon never seen in the history of movies. 2. $2 billion at the global box office. At the 70th Academy Awards on March 23, 1998, the most grossing movie of all time won 11 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director. Leo became the world's most renowned face at the age of 23. The phenomenon was dubbed Leomania by the media. Outside theaters, thousands of teenage females passed out. Every continent yelled his name, and the solitude he had known was gone in an instant. However, Leo saw something more horrifying than failure when he glanced in the mirror during the celebrity storm that would overwhelm any 23-year-old actor. Instead of becoming a true artist, he might become a romantic Jack Dawson on the ship's bow forever due to this renown. It was risky, since the celebrity came so quickly, similar to the Titanic, which was so big that nobody thought it would sink. However, Leo had seen enough disintegration in his life to understand that everything may fall apart. He remarked, "Being famous is like play.